Well, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of the caliber of disaster.
Hello.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
You're gonna get your mind right.
Warning. Common sense incoming.
Alive. It's alive!
I'll alert the media.
We have some bad hombres here, and we're gonna get them out.
Here I come to save the day.
Warning, this contains explicit material suitable for children.
Ridiculous bullshit.
Dignity. Always dignity.
Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more.
But you know what? I like you, because you are special.
Want to see me make bubbles with my spit? Sure do. In fact, that's the theme of our show.
Great heavens! What kind of radio show is this?
Some religious officials are referring to this as the opening signs of the impending apocalypse.
This is the Blab.
And the apocalypse is what it is, because the apocalypse is what we do better than anybody else. On a Wednesday night in America, God bless Amber Waves of Grain.
America.
That's right. Dave Simmons.
America.
America.
Scott Phelps.
Scott Edward Phelps.
Scott Edward Phelps.
Use the three names because, you know, the guy told me one time you can't use three names because all the great serial killers have three names.
That's true.
Assassins, Lee Harvey Oswald, John Wilkes Booth. He wouldn't let me be on the radio with my
Mark
all three
David
names.
Chapman, yes.
And I immediately came back with, oh, you mean like Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Tyler Moore, Jennifer Love Hewitt? Yeah, that job didn't last very long.
See, they never
either.
caught Mary Tyler Moore. She was a...
All right, I got a surprise for you tonight.
Oh, Lord.
We're not going to talk about Donald Trump right off the bat.
Okay.
And what we are going to talk about is something that's, well, gosh. Well, first of all, we have to ask the musical question, who's on first?
Oh, the Ruddles. Love that.
And it was free. Well, what's number one tonight? Number one tonight is not a question so much as it is a statement that more and more women across the world, and especially this country, are saying. It's a little tribute to Mick and the boys. The slogan is, hey, hey, you, get out of my uterus. Let me tell you the most profound thing that, and there's been a lot of conversation this week, obviously, about abortion, pro-life, et cetera, and you weed through this stuff we do. You read a lot of it, I read a lot of it, we talk about it. Well, the most profound thing that I personally saw all week long was a meme, and actually my sister had shared it. She just passed it on from some other source. And she's not a particularly political person, but like so many people who have been moved to get political in this past several years, she posted this thing, and when I saw it, I went, there you go, there it is right there. And what it said was, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it exactly in front of me, she said, if giving an abortion or getting an abortion is going to result in a murder charge, might as well kill the rapist.
Yes.
How does that grab you right off the top of your head?
Oh, the rapist should be killed. Period.
Would you vote to convict
no.
a murderer of a rapist?
No. Given the fact that, I mean, yeah, it was established that he was a rapist. I mean, that opens up.
Well, if you're going to bother with proving it and all that other shit.
But you know what I mean. That would open the Pandora's box of somebody saying, "Hey, I'd like to get rid of Freddie. Freddie tried to rape me. Yeah. I killed him."
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only caveat there. I think it would have to be a proven situation. But yeah, I'd hold the door.
Jokes aside, dark humor aside, we still are theoretically a nation of law.
Yes.
And I didn't want to divert us too far down the path of the trial of the rapist, but I will say this. I think that summed up magnificently the absurdity of the law in Georgia and the law in some of these other states that are looking at these laws that are mandatory. The one in Georgia especially, if a doctor does a rape, 99 years, does a rape. If the doctor does an abortion, right. 99 years, boom, that's it, in jail. the constitutional term cruel and unusual punishment comes to mind. But,
well, yes.
but that's going to be battled out in the courts. But I'm the guy that always kind of tries to look for the thing under the thing. And the reason I brought up abortion first thing tonight was because it's got that passionate sort of, everybody's talking about it. I can't hear a word they're saying. You and I have had private conversations about abortion in weeks, months past,
yes.
out of the context of what's been going on in Georgia and other states. But let me share this thought as a kicking off point for our chat here for the next few minutes. I have changed my point of view about abortion since I was a younger man. I'm not a radical nut job, send them to prison for 99 years, don't ever abort I'm not, because radical is just radical and it's stupid as stupid ever. Anyway. But there was a time when I was a younger guy that I didn't have the issue with it so much. It was like, well, okay. I mean, I tried to think maybe common sense to prevail, et cetera, et cetera. I've never been involved in an abortion. I've never had a relationship in which there was an abortion. When I was about 20 years old, I paid for one for someone.
Thank you, by the way.
A friend, you're welcome. A friend of mine and his girlfriend.
Right.
And he wasn't working. I was. We were 20.
Right.
I had a job. He didn't. They didn't have any money. She got pregnant. They came to me. Would you help? And I had some money, so I gave them the money. So they could go to New York and not to some back alley.
Right, right.
The postscript of that story is that they eventually got married and ended up having 32 kids, and those kids are all grown now and have kids of their own, and it's happy ever after. But the last time I spoke with him, that subject came up, and he told me that he's been haunted by that all of his life. He was brought up Catholic and came up in a Catholic home.
Yeah.
And that he was really impacted and affected by that. And I haven't, again, been that dramatically changed in my point of view on it. But I'm not as glib about the concept as I used to be, and I'm more inclined to think this way. Moderately, reasonably, and without trying to go extremes to either side or split the hairs of, well, when is a heartbeat a life and when is a life a life? When a baby is aborted, when a fetus is aborted, no matter how we try to rationalize or justify it, and I'm being totally clinical in this opinion,
okay,
a life is ended.
Yes.
Okay. The thing under the thing with all of what's going on in places like Georgia with this law is that they're trying through dramatic, draconian means to put a stop to the ending of these lives.
Right.
But as many people, myself included, but masterfully George Carlin years ago, who said the problem there is, then the thing under the thing is that these people who are screaming the most extreme of these people, they call themselves pro-life, but they're not. They're pro-birth.
Yes.
But after birth,
they don't give a damn about the baby.
And the conservative wing, the hard-line right-wingers, the hard-line abortion antis, are the first ones to step up and say, get rid of the welfare programs, get rid of the educational programs, get rid of the free lunch programs, get rid of. And so basically, it's a horrible crime to end this life. I would offer, and I'm interested to hear what you think, I would offer you this. Both cases, and especially in the case where someone's raped, especially in the case where a child is raped,
oh, yes.
The 12-year-old, the 11-year-old girl who's raped by her father
incestuous,
and has to have this baby. Is it cruel? Is it hard? Is it painful? Is it tragic? Is it sad that a life is ended in the womb? Yeah, I'll give you that. The baby is born and not cared for a variety of circumstances. The suffering in the womb, and I don't mean to be, again, this is hard to not be, okay, but the suffering in the womb is absolute, horrific, and
momentary.
The suffering outside of the womb
is
after
a lifetime.
That is a lifetime,
yes.
Whether it be a week, a month, or 75 years. So doesn't it kind of categorize as the lesser of the evil?
A mercy killing. Well, this is the way I look at it, and I think, I mean, maybe when you were talking about, we talked about this, and you were alluding to, I had an abortion. Well, I didn't have an abortion. I paid for an abortion, was involved in abortion when I was young.
You got your figure back quickly, too.
When I was very young. And it was a situation where it was better off that the baby was never born because, neither one of us were ready.
Right.
Neither one of us were mentally prepared or financially prepared.
Right.
I mean, we probably would have made do. But I mean, that wasn't the person that I would have wanted to spend my life with. It was better off. My feeling is, early, first term, first trimester, or health risk to the mother, rape, incest, etc., or even if a life altering deformity is discovered. I mean, I don't see a problem with early term abortions.
But what you and I, when we had this conversation, and this was weeks and months ago before any of this really came to bubble as it's bubbling right now,
right.
And you shared that anecdote with me, that story, your experience, and I think I remember saying back to you that your experience, and I said at the time, don't think that I'm trying to be judgmental at all when I say it. I'm just trying to describe it as close to accurately as I can. Your circumstance was more about inconvenience,
yes,
than it was danger to a fetus,
no,
or danger
yeah.
to the mother, or whatever.
No, I totally cop to that. Yes,
and that's a slippery slope.
That is a slippery slope, but again, I mean, I was ill prepared for raising a child.
Yeah,
and I can honestly tell you, I don't have any regrets doing it. Don't look at me so judgmental. Scott.
No. I said that the last time we talked about it. I would, we're different people,
right?
And I'm not judging you at all. I'm just thinking that's.
And maybe I've rationalized it in my mind like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can convince yourself of anything.
Ask OJ.
Yes.
Thought I was going to go for Donald there.
I thought you were.
No, you see.
I tell you what.
Well,
you're a bevy of surprises.
Well,
today.
I'm a mystery wrapped in a chocolate fudge sauce. Yeah, I made a note for myself here. The crime and the consequences of the crime shouldn't be falling on the doctor giving the abortion or even the woman having the abortion. Right. It should fall on a society that condemns, and I'm quoting myself, the ending of that life, but turns its back on that life when it arrives.
Yes.
That to me is a screaming hypocrisy in a country and in a world, but especially in a country that's got hypocrisy in places most people ain't got.
Yes,
places.
And I mean, if you look at some of the Eastern countries like Asia, I mean, they put a limit on how many children people can have because of the overpopulation. I mean, maybe that's something we ought to do here.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate the thoughts, and we don't need to dwell on it indefinitely. So if you want to weigh in, we're live on Facebook, and if you're watching, then you know that. The program will also show up on YouTube after the show is complete. We process, or I kind of edit it down after we get it done. It processes on Facebook Live. It appears on the YouTube channel. We're on Instagram and Twitter and the other places. You can also email us, webetheblab@gmail.com. And you can comment on Facebook Live. We put it up there on the live stream so that folks can join us if they want to and make comments along the way. Love to hear from you. I see Jeannie's listening tonight.
Oh, awesome.
She's waiting for you to be gullible, and I'm sure
I'm so gullible.
Coming soon enough. So that's who's on first tonight, and that brings us to the second question, which, oh boy, how does this work out, is, hey, what's on second? So each and every week we start off with one thing, and then we go to a second thing. One of us starts like I just did, and the other one, it's like Homer and Jethro used to do in their bit a long time ago. Great comedy country singing act. They'd do their first tune, and the end of the applause for the first tune, they'd go, well, we only know 2 songs, and we always do one of them first. Which one you want to do now? And the other one would look at it and say, let's do the other one. So
that's awesome.
Let's do the other one. What do you got?
Actually, I read an interesting article regarding how they located Osama bin Laden. And I was blown away. A Trump associate Felix Sater. He's a federal informant, and he was actually involved in the Trump Tower Moscow negotiation. Moscowite negotiations. But he's been a long time informant for the federal government.
Okay.
Gave them Osama bin Laden's phone number. I mean, who knew how easy it was to find him? They're like, we cannot locate this man anywhere. Oh, just give him a call. Here's his number.
Information.
And I guess they pinged his phone, and that's how they found him.
Boy, yeah, wow. I had never heard
Yeah,
the story.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. But they said he was a key informant on bin Laden before and after the 9/11 attacks. Mm-hmm. So he basically, I guess he was a deal broker,
right?
You know, for anybody, anybody who would broker deals. And I guess he brokered some deals for either the Al Qaeda or for bin Laden.
Yeah. Ping the phone. And
but yeah, who knew how easy it was to phone? Well, just give him a call.
You know, years ago before bin Laden was captured, or before bin Laden was found and killed, I said, I knew nobody listens to me because I first of all, I have a way, and I get it. But second of all, because I make sense, and that turns people off. They don't know what to do with it. I came up with a suggestion a long time ago how to find and deal with bin Laden, and I thought it would have worked perfectly. Okay.
How?
Well, they knew he was hiding, or they assumed he was hiding in some cave somewhere in Afghanistan, where all those caves are, where you can't find him. Right. And I said, even if they're trying to use like laser telescoping, the lead line caves and all that, like Superman, you can't see with the X-ray vision.
Right.
I said, the solution is very simple. I said, just take half a dozen or a dozen, whatever it takes, because we're America. We got plenty of military equipment. Get those big-ass planes, those big-ass bombers, and I said, and re-equip them. I said, take off a couple of things on either end of the wings and attach huge outdoor speakers underneath the wings. Now, send those planes out on 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week sorties, flying back and forth, covering all the cave area, broadcasting, and I wish I had created the soundbite for this. I'll do my best impression. Sound blasting 24/7 at top volume. Gilbert Gottfried going, Bin Laden! Bin Laden, come out of the cave! Bin Laden, where are you? I promise you that sucker would have been out and give himself up in 30 seconds.
He may have. Didn't they blast heavy metal music when Manuel Noriega at his compound?
The power,
like 24/7.
You and I both know from what we do in our
the
other
power
lives,
of
the power of music,
the power of Metallica.
A franchise chain of 7-Eleven stores in Texas years ago had a problem with punky gang type loitering outside the stores, and so the store manager got hip and groovy and figured it out. And they had the little speakers where they could play the music that played out in the parking lot. He just pulled the music and he put up Barbra Streisand.
Oh,
and.
Gone. Yeah, well, I'd have ran too.
Like cockroaches.
Yeah.
Memories like the corners of my mind. All right, so if you're a terrorist, the moral of the story is make sure your phone is turned off.
Make sure, yes, your phone is turned off. Or use a burner phone.
All right, let's talk about, because you are oh so sweet, let's talk about something salty.
Michael McDonald, love it.
Yamo be there. All right, welcome. You're watching the Blab and listening to the Blab on Facebook Live, and watch for it on the YouTube channel, or check out our channel if you want to like. And you can comment at Facebook Live. We also have a number that's in the bottom of the screen. We don't usually... We've kind of graduated and evolved into we don't take calls, but we will. But we said at the very outset, commentary, comments online, et cetera, et cetera. The phone call thing, we're not a conventional radio show.
No. If they want to call, we're not going to hang up on them.
No. I may or may not answer, depending, because I'm whimsical.
You're fickle like that.
But plenty of opportunity to comment right there if you want to on Facebook Live, so feel free. So what's with the salted caramel protest?
You'll get a kick out of this. A wave of milkshake tossing protest has hit Britain.
Milkshake tossing protest.
Yes,
okay.
I don't know if you have seen it on the news. I was watching the news the other day, and I just saw Carl Benjamin standing there like this with like white stuff all over him, and I'm like, my mind immediately went perverted. But then I was like, I dialed it back and realized, what was it that banana and salted caramel milkshake from Five Guys. That's the milkshake of choice that they've been throwing on the politicians over there.
Any particular reason?
Well, they said apparently this has evolved from I guess back in the olden days they would throw eggs at the politicians.
Okay.
Over in Europe.
Yeah.
But they said I feel I feel really bad for a far right activist. His name is Tommy Robinson. He's been hit with 4 milkshakes on consecutive days this month. I mean, he goes outside and he gets pelted with a milkshake. But
is there a particular brand of milkshake that is it like
Five Guys?
Five Guys.
Five Guys, yeah.
You think?
And I had one last night, and it I wouldn't throw it. I would drink it.
It's a tasty shake.
Yes,
I'm just wondering if the Five Guys people had anything to do with it, because there's no such thing as bad publicity.
I don't know, but it just seems like they said the milkshakes are an evolution from the traditional egging, which has been a relatively common occurrence for British politicians over the years. Which I followed politics for a long time. I don't remember politicians. I never saw Margaret Thatcher hit with an egg. Did you?
No. I saw George Bush duck a shoe.
Yeah.
And
well, remember I told you that was the point in time that I said when respect for our presidency was gone.
Well,
that was the moment.
That was out of the country, though. That
was out of the country, but that was the point in time when a president wasn't a president anymore.
And we know when respect for the presidency was lost in the United States, don't we?
No, actually, some of the way that President Obama was treated was not very good, and I think from that point, that's my landmark. That's my JFK moment for the decline of the respect of the presidency when the shoe was thrown. I think we've had this discussion.
We have. Actually, all I was doing there was a cheap setup just to
trying to go to Donald,
take you down Donald Road, but I didn't. You see, because I'm capable.
You didn't, and you know what? Right. I didn't take the bait.
All right, the milkshake story was both sweet and salty.
All
right,
banana.
Feel free to comment. Love to hear from you. We'll be back momentarily. All right, you are watching and listening to The Blab on Facebook Live. And this portion we just very cleverly call Two Guys Talking. All right, we said we were going to have a couple of big chunk segments here where we were just going to talk about stuff and it wouldn't necessarily be overly produced or done in along the way. But you know me, I said, well, I got at least one thing that I want to get out of my system.
You got to produce it.
Well, a little bit, just by way, because they're fun.
Go ahead.
It makes it
Go
fun.
ahead.
We watch some of these, especially on talk radio. You listen to some of these shows and you just want to put an ice pick in your ear and shove it in as far as it'll go.
Yes.
Oh, I hate when that happens because it's just dull. And I like to spice stuff up with a little of this and a little of that along the way. So let's just talk. Well, I'd like to share this in as respectful a fashion as I can for just a few minutes as I steer the conversation in the direction of our dear Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
We need a nationwide revival to put the love of God in our souls. We need a whole lot more Jesus and a lot less rock and roll. We need a whole lot more Jesus and a lot less rock and roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, the dance stylings of the late great. No, actually, she's still with us.
Dolly Parton, right?
No, that's Linda Ronstadt.
Linda Ronstadt. Damn.
Very close.
Oh yeah, she's got Parkinson's. Sad.
Yeah. All right. Let me just put this as tactfully as I can. Mike Pence is a putz, and that's the nice way to put it. Here's the reason why. And based on our earlier conversation before we went on tonight, there are certain people listening or watching or who will see the rebroadcast of this who with that comment are now looking at me kind of like this. And you know what? To those people I say, I respect your opinion. You know, in every way there is to respect your opinion. No, I'm just kidding around. Pence gave a graduating class speech at Liberty University, one of the great bastions of free will and thinking and liberal thinking in our country.
I did see that.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasingly quoting him. Quote, "Throughout most of American history, it's been pretty easy to call yourself Christian. It didn't even occur to people you might be shunned or ridiculed for defending the teachings of the Bible." Unquote. First of all, where the hell has he been reading his history books? People have been shunned and criticized and ridiculed for being Christian and Jew and Muslim and everything else under the planet since before Almond was joyful.
If you're religious, there's somebody that hates you.
So please. Then he said to these graduates that they have to be ready and stay strong against challenges they'll get from Hollywood, the media, and the left in general. Quote, "Some of the loudest voices for tolerance today have little tolerance for traditional Christian beliefs." All right. Bullshit. Thank you. Here's my question to initiate conversation on this. One of the big things about America, ostensibly, is the Constitution, our freedoms. Right up there, number one on the charts, cats and kitties, will be the Second Amendment. Right to bear arms, all the guns, as many guns as I want, any damn time I want them. That's number one. Bubbling under number one at number two, I would offer you is freedom of speech. Of course I called you a commie pinko motherfucker, but that's my right here in America. That's number two. But I would come at you and say, number three, I think, and bubbling up there, freedom of religion. Mr. Pence fancies himself a Christian. We could do a whole show on the merits of what is and what is not the Christian life, what is and what is not Christian values. Some of it is opinion, and some of it is flexible kind of interpretation.
Yes.
But I would also offer you that some of it is just basically Christian from the word Christ, meaning Jesus Christ, meaning the Christ-like lifestyle. And so many of these table-banging, given speeches to university graduates, Christians, I honestly believe, all due respect, that they don't have the first clue about it, and they don't proselytize it properly. Not because I disagree, because I think it should, just because, okay, love one another. We could go on for half an hour. All right. Back to the freedom of religion. Mr. Pence basically is saying, with Christianity, it's his way of saying, we're number one. Okay, in other words, all right, I'll offer you this, and then I'll open the floor for bring it to me. Because I don't think we're going to be in disagreement on this.
No,
I'm just throwing this out. America is not a Christian nation. But as John Lennon would sing, here's another clue for you all. Besides the walrus was Paul. It's not supposed to be.
Right.
Just a Christian nation.
Right.
It is a Christian nation, and a Jewish nation, and a Muslim nation, and a Presbyterian, well, that's Christian, Mormon nation, political nation. That's the whole idea.
Right.
Or at least it was. The American melting pot, coming together in, etc. America was formed because we wanted to be able to come somewhere.
We fled to the New World because of freedom of religion.
So here's my rhetorical question that is certainly answerable.
Okay.
What's the point in having freedom of religion as a legislated right if there's only one religion anyway?
Well, it's almost like how everybody thinks their dog is the cutest dog, when we all know mine is, but you know that everybody thinks their dog's the cutest. Everybody thinks their team's the best. Everybody thinks their religion is the right religion. And I mean, it's just human nature. And you and I discussed, before we went on, we discussed opinions. There's no wrong opinion because it's an opinion. So if that's his opinion, what can you do?
I think it transcends.
It's not very Christ-like, I can tell you.
Well, then it's not Christianity, and it transcends opinion, I think, because what he's talking about is he's doing, and I'm just using him because he made this speech, and he's the vice president of the United States. Okay, much like I say Donald Trump needs to be president, he never will be, but Donald Trump needs to be president of the United States, but he's not. Donald Trump is president of the Donald Trump fan club. Mike Pence is not Vice President of the United States. Mike Pence is Vice President of the
Jesus Fan Club.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, he's entitled to his religion. And my wife is a very committed Christian lady. She reads her Bible every day. She does devotions every morning. She's not a thumper, and she's not a holier than thou type, but she's very committed to her faith, and she believes. She and I don't share similar intensity in our beliefs. Am I a Christian? I like to think I have some Christian values. I have other values. I'm more of a spiritualistic kind of guy than I am a religion kind of guy, because religion is man-made. Faith is of the spiritual, blah, blah, here we go. But this business of, and she said it before, and she and I have had conversations similar to this sudden battle to, the Christians are under siege, not able to express their religion, not able to exercise. I'm sorry, I don't know anybody, and please educate me if you're watching and listening, and you want to comment in or give us an email or something. I'd like to know where is it you're not being allowed to do what you want to do, wackadoo. Right,
not in this country. No. I mean, there were a bunch of Christians slaughtered overseas in I can't even remember the country by. I think it was it Muslims? I'll have to look up that article, but this is like two or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Lord!
Technology. But no, the most Christian people, Jim Baker, the people like that are selling it. They tout themselves as the most Christian people. Yeah. They're the ones always on the take. They're the ones always with the problems. They're the ones always, behind the curtain, not being very Christian. Scott, you know me, and we've talked a lot. And until recently, religion really, I went to a Catholic school. I had Catholic religion shoved down my throat. I didn't like it.
Well, that didn't take very well, did it?
When I walked out of there, I was like, I'll never go into church again in my life. So
yeah, that'll do it.
So I've never really, I read a lot, Sigmund Freud, The Future of an Illusion. I read all kinds of philosophy regarding.
I knew Jesus before he was a superstar.
Yeah. A lot of philosophy regarding religion. And I really didn't have much faith. But recently, I don't know that I have faith, but I have hope, with my dad passing. And, if there is an afterlife, if there is, I hope there is, because I would love to see him again. But, and so I'm not a very religious person, but I'm also a very tolerant person. I would tolerate anybody's religion. I don't really feel that anybody should be oppressed for their religion, for their religious beliefs. But there's a lot of intolerance, and a lot of the intolerance comes from the left, and you know this as well. The people that are the most liberal, they don't want to hear anybody else's opinions.
No, I'm not. See, that argument always. I have a problem with that argument on almost every single topic we could bring up, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I had a political conversation accidentally with our friend Craig the other day. And by accidentally, I mean I didn't intend to get into it, and I wasn't going to be drawn into it anyway. But I said something about, and I wasn't even Trump bashing or anything like that. I was just commenting on something that had been done on the conservative side of things. And I said, I think that's, I was very calm about it. I said, I just think that's something, they're overreacting and they need to kind of pull it back and make a little bit of a thing. And he immediately went into this. Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is the damn Democrats, and they went, and I said, no, I said, we're not going to do this. And I said, and let me tell you why. Because you pick a thing, anything you want, any one thing or any 5 things you want that are up your ass about the Democrats, and I will come back at you with 1 or 5 things that I can come back with you with the Republicans. I said, but, and he was immediately, I said, and if we flipped it, it doesn't matter. If I'm at, it's like when I was in a debate team in high school, And as an exercise, very often we were intentionally given one side of an argument or another, and then sometimes we were given the other side of the argument,
Right. You
to
flipped
be able
it.
to learn that you could
Right.
points of view. I said, it doesn't matter whether I'm speaking on behalf of the Democrats and you're speaking on behalf of the Republicans, or vice versa. The points are still the same. And I said, tit for tat, bing da doo, bum ba bum. I said, so that doesn't accomplish anything. Okay, there's guilt on both sides. There's, there's failure on both sides.
Most definitely.
There's extremism on both sides, all sides, every side, all night long. And that's me saying, in essence, everybody is culpable, no matter what their affiliation is. And so I'm conceding both sides and et cetera. And you know what his response was? And I've seen this before, and it's amusing and kind of frustrating at the same time, because I used to get a lot of this on talk radio, the verbal version of this, when people would come back at me. I couldn't see their faces, but I could hear in their voice what was happening. And Craig did it, and I could see his face. I could see him processing what I was saying, and I could see that it was registering, and I could see that he was kind of intellectually in agreement with me, and he sort of went like this. Well, you know, that's probably true, and the case could be made. But those damn Democrats! It's like, and I told him, I laughed, and I said, I'm not having this conversation. I said, because, dude, you've got political Tourette's.
Right.
Okay, so not going to get off on 5 minutes of what we were talking about.
I think he's got more than political Tourette's.
Nobody, and neither side has a corner on the market of extremism and inappropriate behavior and counterproductive moves and et cetera, on pretty much any topic you want.
Yeah. The reason I brought that up is I always, my liberal friends are the ones that are posting in social media, unfriend me if you believe in this, unfriend me, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And that's complete bullshit, dude, because everybody's opinions. I don't have any of my right-leaning friends, I've never seen them post something like that.
Okay.
And that's why I brought that up. I mean, the liberal party that's supposed to be the most liberal are usually the quickest to throw up the wall.
Well, okay.
I mean, that was just my personal. And again, it's an opinion, so it's not wrong because it's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me share this anecdote with you, and then we'll move off of religion, because I just, that's like politics. You can't, the things you can't talk about are the things that are bread and butter on talk radio. But this was an anecdote that was posted online by a lady. I don't know her personally. She's a local, and she's part of a group of people who are, and I say this by way of having read her Facebook post and the people that she associates with, and I do know personally some of those people. I kind of know the community, as it were.
Right.
Although I'm not part of it, I'm aware of it.
Right.
So I'm just...
You're not part of any community.
This is my read. Well, I got my own thing going. Very conservative.
Yes.
Very God-fearing, very Christian in their own concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to be not snarky when I say that, but that gets into that whole thing. But she posted, and this is representative of what the whole thing of what I'm talking about here is. She posted this anecdote in meme form. I'm sure she didn't write it. She found it somewhere, and it touched her, so she shared it. And this is what it says, and this is verbatim. A little girl wanted to know what the USA looked like. Her dad tore a map of the USA from a magazine and cut it into small pieces. He told her to go to her room and see if she could put it together. After just a few minutes, she returned and had correctly fitted and taped the map together. Her dad was very surprised and asked how she had finished so quickly. She replied that on the other side of the page was a picture of Jesus. And when she put him back together, our country just came together too.
Nice. I like that, Scott.
Yeah. Okay.
You didn't like that?
I understand adorable, and
yes.
I understand sentimental, and I understand poignant. I've lived on the earth. The mothership will come back for me someday, but I've lived on earth long enough to be able to understand how earthlings appreciate and enjoy these things. But from a pragmatic, literal, practical point of view, that's just, and I don't want to be offensive, so I'm not going to call it bullshit, but it's like, come on, okay? We are not a Christian nation. We are not supposed to be. We're supposed to be Christ-like.
Yes.
And there you go.
There you have it.
All right. It's almost time for Stick of the Week. How exciting is
Oh,
that?
well, I'm excited.
All right, well, we'll be right back with that. All right, so each and every week we take turns picking a little award, a little congratulations, a little recognition for somebody that's accomplished the very difficult and yet these days not so difficult
The
task
practically unaccomplishable
of being a total dorkwad of one kind or another. And by golly, this week somebody that you may or may not have heard of before, but I'm happy to bring to you this week's Stick of the Week. All right, the gentleman's name is Chuck Espy, E-S-P-Y.
Why does that sound familiar?
He is the mayor of Clarksdale, Mississippi. He has announced that as part of his crime-fighting plan in the great metropolis of Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Did you say Clarksville?
Clarksdale.
Oh,
Clarksdale.
I got monkeys.
He's created a fund, or wants to create a fund. The fund will start with $10,000, and he's offering the cash, starting at $10,000, to, quote, drug dealers, gang members, and wannabe criminals, unquote, if they will simply leave town.
Well, they always do what they say they're going to do, so I would trust them.
Espy said, it's not to say you just want one criminal to move from one city to the next. They might just not have good opportunities they need in this city. In addition, now here's where it gets better. In addition, the mayor is asking local businesses and philanthropists to contribute to what he calls his Moving Assistance Fund. I thought this was something from The Onion when I saw this online, and I went and looked and checked it out several different resource places, and it's not absolutely legit.
Oh, wow.
And my comments as I posted it sardonically on Facebook were this. You just alluded to it. Number one, drug dealers, gang members, and wannabe criminals are, of course, known for their rigid standards of honoring a deal once payment is made.
Yes.
So they'll take that money and they'll leave town, no questions
Yes.
asked. Two, local businesses and philanthropists on board with this regret that they've already donated all of their available funds to Trump 2020. Mayor Espy is sadly this week's Stick of the Week and the official idiot du jour, which means there can only be two outcomes for him career-wise. He will either be overwhelmingly reelected in Clarksdale, Mississippi, or he's got a lock on the very next Supreme Court seat.
Wow. That's pretty funny. Scott, speaking of the Supreme Court, I don't know if you saw the article. Trump's two appointees voted with had liberal rulings within the last week.
Cool.
So I mean, there was never a question with Kavanaugh. I don't even think you had a problem with Kavanaugh, the first one. No, not Kavanaugh. I mean Gorsuch.
I was okay with Gorsuch.
Yeah, I was fine with Gorsuch. You had we both had issues with Kavanaugh.
Well, Kavanaugh should have been shown the door from the get-go because there's 600 kabillion people in the United States of America, and this is the best we can do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just the questions, whether he was framed or not, or whether it was true or not.
Doesn't matter.
Just the fact that there was questions should have reclused him from that.
You've hired and you continue to hire in your life. I've hired and continue to hire in my life, so I have a little personnel experience.
Right.
I would have interviewed, no matter what I was interviewing that guy for 5 minutes in, I would have said thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, because he was
Yeah, I had him backwards. But Gorsuch, I think we discussed when he was appointed, I didn't have a problem with him. I thought he was an excellent choice, and I think you said you didn't have a problem with him either.
No, and I understand that the Supreme Court, for all of its lofty ambitions, basically it's still a political basketball that's bounced around and taken advantage of. I get it. But there's even then there's lines, or there used to be.
Well, I think they say Gorsuch voted with the liberal justices on the ruling for Indian tribes hunting rights.
Okay.
So, and I read what they said, and it was, he exactly voted the right way. Kavanaugh sided with the liberal judges in ruling allowing iPhone users to sue Apple over high prices on its exclusive app store.
I think where it's going to get interesting pretty soon, in terms of the makeup of the court, is when some of these things that are inevitably going to bubble all the way up to the court, get
abortion
to the court.
Stuff.
Yeah, but not so much that as the thing that I wailed on last week, and we didn't touch on tonight at all because I didn't want to do 30 minutes on Donald, but because Donald's basic violation of his presidential oath, but beyond that, his straight up telling the law to go fuck itself, refusing subpoenas, saying that they're not going to be answered, telling one of his counsel guys didn't show up at the House hearing because of that, and the whole business of rule of law and nation of laws, and et cetera, and is the president above the law or not? And that's going to be the greater question. And I'd like to think, I'm cynical enough to think, well, we're all screwed, but I've got still enough bubbly optimism left in me to think that even with the makeup of the court the way it is, if these people are genuinely sincere and professional jurists, reasonable people, whether they be conservative or liberal under those labels, which I hate with a passion, that in a nation that is still functioning as a nation of laws under the rule of law, that when the case gets before them that says basically this person told the person issuing the subpoena to go fuck themselves, the fact that the person happened to be somebody who works in the Oval Office shouldn't make any difference at all.
I don't think it should make a difference.
I'd like to think Donald's in for some heartbreak when it comes to expecting that the court's going to be his own personal little Gestapo. But we'll see.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But I found it interesting though that they were ruling with the liberal judges.
Yeah, well, little lights shine at moments that it's the only reason that It's the only reason that I don't wear a big T-shirt that just says I'm cynical. Live with it.
Scott, any T-shirt you wear, it's big.
Yeah, your ability at humor is so much better than that. It really is.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
That's too. That's like going for the tits joke. It doesn't.
Sometimes you go for the bare minimum.
All right, I want to. Well, you know what? This is a perfect time to bring up the other topic that I want to address.
Okay.
And check this out.
All you're ever gonna be is me. Why you gotta be so mean?
All right, the subject matter here really isn't new territory, and we've talked a lot about it, but I wanted to just bring it up real quick by way of saying one more time. This is kind of symptomatic of what's going on in the world, okay? Bibi Rexha is a singer. That's really all that anybody who's never heard of her needs to know. She's a young 20-ish. Selena Gomez, Lovey Del Mato, Demi Lovato, those folks, the young people. Right. She's one of those, and fine. She's
Lovey, wasn't that Thurston Howell III's wife?
Yes, Lovey, I believe it was. Anyway, she was body shamed because she's not obese or overweight per se, but she's not rail thin or model thin, and she posted a picture of herself in a bikini. She's what a young, healthy girl, in my humble looks like.
Right.
And she said that, but the Twitter idiots, and they get on and they bash and they do and they mouth off. Okay. And this is just 1, 2, 3. Oprah has been criticized because she gave a speech at a college and she gave everybody a copy of her latest book. This was at Colorado University or something. A billionaire guy at Morehouse University gave a commencement address, and he pledged to pay off all of the student debt for all of the graduates. Well, Oprah got trashed online because she didn't offer up all the money, et cetera, et cetera. Meghan McCain spoiled the ending, apparently unwittingly, of the Game of Thrones on The View the morning after the thing aired, not realizing a lot of people don't watch the first presentation. They DVR or they go back.
Right.
She apologized, but the internet exploded.
Blowed up good. Blowed up real good.
Yeah. Okay, and then the Game of Thrones issue where in one of the shows, one of the continuity people inadvertently left a Starbucks cup in one of the scenes, and then another episode later, they accidentally left a water bottle next to one of the thrones, and can you guess, the internet exploded.
Blowed up good. Blowed up real good.
Yeah. You know, there's nothing to be said besides what we've said so many times, and I'm going to start throwing in. We want to start throwing in, like, let's talk about showbiz, another segment, our experience, my experience too, but because this is starting to make me crazy, but it's because it's a recurring theme. People just too many people using what could have been an interesting thing, social media, the chance to interact and see what I want to see a picture of what you had for lunch. Damn it, I don't want to hear somebody being mean to
look at my chicken soft tacos
to Lemmy Devato or whoever the hell is going on there. And I would ask the question, why are people being mean? But you know what? It's always difficult to find happy in a dark, fallen world. The real sadness here, and people like me, and there's a lot of us, and I take the responsibility for this. It's difficult for me. It's hard enough for me under normal circumstances to see the bright side and see the glass as half full, because I'm simply not wired that way. I'm capable of it, and I give it my best shot.
I've never seen it, but...
Oh, you've seen it. I got your roses for your birthday.
You being bright, that's like Bigfoot. You hear about it a lot, but you never actually see it.
Sassy lingerie. All right,
Blowed up good. Blowed up real good.
All right, we're going to take one more tiny break, and if I feel like it, I'll punch the button to bring us back.
Now that Game of Thrones has ended, fans the world over are left wondering how to fill the void. Well, worry not. Introducing the Game of Thrones Accidental Beverage Cameo Collector's Set. Now you can buy such well-known accidental beverages as the coffee cup seen in front of Daenerys, the water bottle behind Sam's leg in the finale, the can of squirt a raven landed on in Season 1, Episode 10. Remember? The chocolate milk held by the Night King. That green smoothie someone left on Ned Stark's severed head. The famous battle where every warrior had a McFlurry. Own them all in the Game of Thrones Accidental Beverage Cameo Collector Set. Get yours now at participating Medieval Times restaurants.
That was a very cleverly written piece that was actually on Conan's show the other night, and they did the visual.
That's
this
pretty
whole
funny.
business with the water bottles and the Starbucks cup. I understand that the networks, though, have gotten behind it, and with all the free publicity, apparently the Starbucks cup has been signed to appear as a guest star in like 32 TV shows next season.
Nice. Now,
you said you had a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, speaking of Game of Thrones, I found this interesting. Let me see here. On Monday, China's Tencent Video delayed the broadcast of the Game of Thrones finale. And according to an official message published online on the streaming site, they were promoting an uproar. They were claiming that we did that to them, trying to ramp up nationalism against the U.S. for this tariff trade war.
Yeah,
and they were using Game of Thrones. I mean, I was like, really?
I think
that was crazy.
I've said it before in different contexts. I may have said it once already in one of the shows we've done now, because we've done 6, 7 of these things. I said, if everybody has to find somebody to blame, people. I blame Hillary. I blame Barr. I blame Obama. I blame Donald. I blame. If you want to blame somebody, and you
blame
absolutely
Bill
have
Clinton.
To, there you go. I blame, and I think this is spot on. If I do say so myself, blame Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes,
he created Facebook, and until Facebook came along, we knew that there were stupid people in the world. We just didn't know there were so many of them, and they didn't know about each other. So they came out, and now they've become a group, and there's that.
And here's the weird thing. MySpace was perfectly fine. There was music. Everybody was happy. Nobody was arguing.
Naked pictures, too.
Oh, yes.
But
then here comes Facebook. Damn Facebook.
Yeah. And it's that thing where we, I don't want to get too philosophical, because if I do that and Jeannie's still hanging around, she's going to hear me be philosophical, and you're going to respond. She's going to call you gullible. But I said, one of the tragedies of this period, and I'm not even talking about Donald necessarily, because what he does and how he conducts himself is more of a symptom than it is the cause of what's going on.
Hey, Greg Gately just responded, poor Tom from MySpace is always forgotten about.
You see?
See, I brought Tom up, Greg.
There you go. And I had a MySpace page.
Yes, I did too.
A lot of fun. My point being that what's sad is that we've learned an awful lot about each other in the last few years.
Yes.
As a result of social media, and that's not a good
No.
thing.
The less you know about your neighbor, the better.
You know,
I liked my neighbors so much better when I didn't know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
it's the online equivalent of moving into somebody's house that you really like, and you just maybe rent the house from them after they move out, and you find out what kind of people they were when you get in the shower the first time and you go to the soap dish.
Yes.
And there are things on that soap dish that have probably been there and in laboratories from coast to coast. Those little things that you just don't really want to know about.
Don't want to know about that.
Yeah.
That is too funny.
So Zuckerberg is the one to blame in my book, by golly. All right,
poor Tom. Poor Tom.
Real quick, I got the card for it, so let's use it. Let's take one more shot. That's right. Breathe in, breathe out, make yourself feel a cleansing breath. I just wanted to throw this up real quick before we go because it's good news. It's a positive thing. Scientists have come up with some kind of way to fight climate change, and here's the initial thing. They're taking, instead of trying to get rid of the methane that's created, which goes into the atmosphere, the global warming, etc., they've seemed to have mastered a process, or very close to it, of converting the methane into carbon dioxide.
Oh, neat.
And although carbon dioxide is not, in heavy doses, is not cool either, there's less damage potential, and this is the scientific explanation. Since methane traps much more heat than carbon dioxide, converting much of it in the atmosphere to carbon dioxide would eliminate 1/6 of global warming, while adding only a few months' worth of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And the research is still going on. Now, what I said was, to the naysayers, and already I hear people going, well, okay. Those who reject the idea of climate change will be expected to inhale the additional carbon dioxide, which will both further minimize the CO2 level and will reduce the annoying population of those rejecting the idea of climate change.
There you have it.
So my motto is screw winning. Let's go with win-win, because that right there is a win-win.
Well, I've got something before we go.
Okay.
Scott, how would you like to be topsoil?
If that's some kind of code for your kinky sex thing,
No.
I don't want to.
I gave you a chart with all the codes for my kinky sex things.
Where'd I put that?
No, look, Washington State has legalized human composting.
I saw.
Did you see that?
I saw that.
Did you hear how they do it?
I didn't hear how.
Oh, Lord.
Wood chippers are involved.
No. Actually, the company called Recompost will place bodies in steel vessels with wood chips, alfalfa, and straw, enabling microbes to break down the bodies into soil in about a month. So you can spread mommy or daddy on your garden. And
I saw that story this morning, and I'll be honest with you, the first part